the order actually says, and Justice D.Y. Chandrachud in that order, interim order, has in fact just said, keeping complexity and sensitivity of the matter in view, the civil suit before the civil judge in Varanasi shall be heard before a senior and experienced judicial officer of the Uttar Pradesh Judicial Service. Transfer to Court of District Judge of Varanasi for trial, and all the proceedings in the suit will now be decided by district judge. So essentially the case is out of this Varanasi local court, correct?
You are absolutely correct. In fact, this is what the order that the Supreme Court of India has given. Again, without going into the technicalities of what happened in the Supreme Court, because my colleague Sukirti and the gentlemen who are on the panel are already discussing it, I'd like to just point out the experience of how things have gone in the trial court here, or in the court of Justice Divakar, over the last some time. So this is the judge who actually ordered the survey at the Gyanvapi Mosque based on a petition by the 5 Hindu women who claim that there are idols of Hindu gods and goddesses inside the mosque. That much we know. There was one survey. That survey was it couldn't go inside and film inside the mosque because there was an issue with that, and then arguments happened again in the court of Justice Divakar, and he said no, you can go and film inside. Then another survey happened over 3 days, after which there were these claims of a shivling being found, and all. Initially, one court commissioner was appointed. His name was Ajay Kumar Mishra. He's an advocate. Then 2 other commissioners were added on, including Mr. Vishal Singh. Ajay Mishra, the initial commissioner, was then accused of leaking information to the press and to others, and then he was kind of discredited. And then you had Vishal Singh coming and filed the second report. Now, what are the issues that I've observed here? Now, everyone, I think, will agree that this is a very sensitive case. This is a case where the secrecy in a courtroom is something that definitely needs to be maintained as much as possible. Of course, if a report is going to go in, you're going to get a copy at some point of time. But here you've had a situation where the first discredited commissioner, Mr. Ajay Kumar Mishra, he filed one report for the first 2 days of the survey that were conducted, and he gave it out to the press. I mean, he filed it before the court. The court, has that report. That report is also part of the second, more comprehensive survey report. But the moment he filed it in court, he also gave it to the media, and then you had the situation where everyone was discussing everything that was said in that report threadbare. And I read his report. His report only had what one side saw and not the rebuttals from the other side. And then you had the second, more comprehensive court-authorized report, if I may call it that. And again, Mr. Vishal Singh, he took 3 days to file it. And I have to say that in his report, he says, for instance, that this is something that we found. There was a stone structure. The Hindu side, or the side of the petitioner, says this is a shivling, but the other side, the side of the mosque, says this is a fountain. So at least he makes the effort to record that. Again, you had a situation where that went to trial court, and the court order, I read that order in Hindi, the court said that this has to be in the safe keep of somebody, some gentleman in his court, and that, this has been presented in sealed boxes, etc., etc. 2 hours after that, PDF files with that report were going around, and they were released by the side of the petitioners. And one of them said that this was not a court-notified copy, but he had taken it to read it. Now, how is that possible? So, I think those were questions that were being raised time and again about the secrecy of what was happening. And this is, at the end of the day, a sensitive issue situation for the people who are involved, and also for the city, for this town, because the Kashi Vishwanath temple and the Gyanvapi Mosque and that area is also a big tourist draw. It also, caters to the livelihood of many people, and any tension in that area, it's detrimental to everyone. So one would want that whatever the legal question is, that is addressed very swiftly. And one would assume perhaps that if a district judge level judicial officer is going to try a case, or going to take the case forward, I guess, one would have higher hopes that, there can be a swift and remedy to the situation, whichever way it is decided.